welcome to another podcast with the Glimmerings. Oh, we didn't explain that. Did we explain that to you, Colin?
Nope.
It's a take.
Think of money.
It's a take on the Inklings, which is the, what would you call it? Essentially the writers group that Tolkien and
The original writers
Lewis
group.
and there's another.
The
guy
Dorothy
wrote-
Sayers, I think?
No, I don't think so.
No,
Oh, wait,
there
no.
was definitely
Really?
a girl involved.
Really?
There was definitely a girl, one woman author.
I'm thinking of another god author.
Right? Was
What?
it McDonald?
No, it wasn't Dorothy.
This is
He was
sad.
definitely...
These are together.
I know.
Honestly, I never knew who the other ones were other than Tolkien and Lewis. So.
Maddie wants us to restart so we can deny our
Oh yeah,
lack
like
of knowledge.
Tolkien and Lewis would like challenge each other to like writing
Oh,
challenges.
no, I knew
and
that.
stuff,
I didn't
yeah.
know. There was, like,
no,
a
but there
group.
was...
I knew it was just there was something between those two.
It was War in Heaven and,
C.S. Lewis. Oh, that's what it was. Charles Williams.
I knew it. That was what I was thinking of.
But there were other people as well.
Garfield's. Let's see. More frequent visitors.
Anyway, tonight we are missing Bethany as she's on vacation, and we're still missing Leah because she's off at college.
Leah may remain an imaginary character in this.
Bethany is actually with Leah.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
I'm at college by day and a writer by night, quite literally.
I was also going to say, I think we decided it was
I'm a
Glimmerings.
writer by day and a Walmart employee by night. Sadly.
Well, we were deciding it was Glimmerings because Inklings were like, we have less than an Inkling. We're more like a Glimmering.
Yes.
I did wonder why that was the exact word, and I was like, well, a bunch of girls thought of it. I was like,
Now
oh.
you know.
No, it wasn't.
I feel insulted, but
It wasn't meant to be girly. It was.
if we wanted to make it girly.
Well, it makes more sense now.
Let's get down to business.
Anyway, tonight we have...
Travis, I am a writer when I want, and an irresponsible facade of an adult most of the other time.
You guys have a job.
I do have job.
Colin, I kind of just told you. I'm a
Yeah,
writer
Colin
by
has
day,
already said what he
Walmart
is.
employee by night. I don't want to admit that again, but I did.
I'm a writer by day, and I am an employee by night because I work night shift at the hospital.
Yeah. Well, Colin works night shift at Walmart.
Yeah.
And that's Nadia, werewolf by night.
Yes, I'm Nadia. I'm a writer by day and Smog the Magnificent by night.
She's also a teacher. I'm Elizabeth, and I'm
4-year-olds.
a student by day. And Niall is getting a phone call. And then I'm a janitor like in the evening, and then I'm a writer by night.
Does she clean up her own messes, or like, what? Are you actually legit?
I'm a legit janitor
Yeah,
now. I was over the summer too.
Most janitors aren't.
My mom was a janitor briefly too, so it's becoming the family business.
Family business.
I mean, it's a good gig.
It's either, the family business is either a janitor or ministry.
I think it has to be ministry because I work at a church.
But the majority right now is ministry.
Yeah, I would.
You gotta keep the janitor
Sorority
going.
will
The
take
wheelers, cleaning souls and cleaning floors.
That's our tagline now.
Good one.
Anyway, we're gonna have to try to get this podcast done so Colin can go off to do his night superhero job.
Yes, for the buy more. I mean for the Walmart.
I am Captain Best. I am referred to as Captain Best.
You're Captain Best.
I'm Captain Best.
Why do you have to wear a vest in the Walmart?
Well, I wore a safety vest all the time because I would drive the tow motor, and that's why I've been called Captain Best, who was then retired when I stopped, and now has been brought back because in our dress code we have to wear Walmart vests.
Shut up. Okay.
Sorry, that I didn't consider that a bad word. Everyone else did. So.
Okay, I need to go back to my phone call sometime after Colin's gone, so let's make it a quick podcast.
Okay. So the question tonight is I want you to provide an issue that you have had in your writing and how you have solved it, or how we have solved it for you. Whichever you prefer. Colin, you should go first because you have to leave. Think of something.
Oh boy.
Right now. Right now.
The issue I had while writing. I think the biggest issue that I had while writing my story was in a scene where they were fighting wolves, and I wanted the scene to be gorier.
How did you solve that problem, Colin?
By describing more blood.
Make it sound like
Walls
work.
I haven't hit a point in any of my stories where I've had a huge issue on, like, where I couldn't keep going.
I think I remember the dragon. Was that a big issue or not? 'Cause I remember discussing the
No,
dragons. A lot.
I think that really wasn't a huge issue, but yeah, I did want to try and figure more out about my dragons in my world.
World building.
Yeah. Which wasn't a huge issue, it's always good to do more world building.
Always.
Yeah, I think that's about it.
Okay.
Shout
Lots
out to
more gore.
Bethany.
Shout out to Bethany, the expert on world building.
Oh boy.
I don't know if I'd say expert, maybe enthusiast.
It's kind of a problem.
I'd say expert. Have you seen her board she pins on and her
Expert and enthusiast.
yes, and her
An addict.
Yes.
Yeah, it's quite
For the
expansive.
intervention.
There's an artifact in the Wolverine comics. It's like a little orb, and if you touch it, you can like change the world to be what you want it to be.
That's dangerous.
Bethany can never get her hands on this.
We'd all be trees.
I know. I don't want to be a tree. That's boring.
I mean,
not that we're saying Bethany's writing is boring.
No, just being a tree would be boring.
Yeah.
I don't
Yes. Okay. Bethany can argue about this when she's here. We shouldn't talk.
You're arguing for Bethany.
Yeah.
I'm like, I know. I bet she would argue that being a tree wouldn't be boring.
Well, yeah, exactly.
I'm sure she'd have some stances on it.
All right.
Lots of people want to hug you, apparently.
Who wants to go next?
Why did I go next? I think my main problem was I had trouble starting writing because I was like, I wanted it to be original and epic and wonderful, and it never came out that way. It came out as more dribble. And then,
Yeah, that was why I never wrote for the first 10 years with the story idea I had.
yeah, and then I'm like, is this original enough? Is this character interesting enough? And then I read this book. I do actually recommend this book. It's called No Plot, No Problem.
That was a great book.
Yeah, it was about National Novel Writers Month, but it's basically like, just write. You don't have to know what's happening ahead of time.
It is an
Just
inspiring
write.
book.
But one of the best things it had was write a list of what you like to read and what you don't like to read.
I think that book was instrumental in starting this group.
Yeah, but then I really liked that because it was like, if you're writing mostly about stuff you don't like, you're not going to write very much. Even if you think it's interesting or important or special, if you really just want to read like books about zombie vampires, go ahead and do it. It's like, just write what you actually like because you'll enjoy it more and your audience will enjoy it more.
You heard it here, Red
Yeah.
Vampires.
Yeah, it's actually something Tolkien said.
That's a
in-
thing, actually.
Yeah.
Vampires?
Yeah.
Yes, they're in the recent Buffy comics.
No, well, they were also in that book, The Passage, which I hated, and yeah.
Well, that was what we called them because we didn't know what they really were.
I think they were supposed to be vampires, but they were vampires. They were all out there. I didn't like the book. Not because of the vampires. They are the only good thing. The rest of the characters were boring. But
Alright.
yeah, no, sorry. I wasn't quite done yet. So yeah. I like that idea that if you write what you know, because it also goes back to what Tolkien said in the introduction to Lord of the Rings. He's like, he wanted to write a story that he liked and would move his readers. And he's like, I only had myself as a guide to what would be interesting and moving. I like that, I have respect for an author that just writes something because they enjoy it. So that definitely was helpful. So in my book, I'm like, I want to do this. I'm like, this appeals to me, so I'll do this. And I did find that when I did that, I could come up with a story that was more original and interesting just because it was something I liked. And also, I found that for writing for me, if I'm having a problem, it's best for me to just think up as a problem solver I kind of like what is wrong with my character, frame it as a problem, and then try and think of the solution. I'm like, this character is boring. What can they do for the plot that will make them more interesting and move my plot along? And I feel like that helps me a lot.
Do we own No Plot, No Problem?
No, we need to though.
We do.
I should ask for it for my birthday.
Who wants to go next?
Well, I think I thought of something. Usually I have no trouble writing stories particularly. I just like writing funny stories. One of the things the writers group has helped me is I share with people and then you guys all laugh at it. And so I'm like, okay, it's good. But that's one thing, because, it's kind of bad when you're reading it, it's like, is this really good? Because sometimes I can read my stuff and I laugh at it, and I'm like, okay, this is good. But other times I'm like, is it that good? And you guys are all like, oh yeah, that's great. And I'm like, okay.
It is satisfying to have people read your stuff and laugh.
Yeah, it is nice. It's always kind of nerve-wracking, though. But the other thing, I like to write just stories and be done with them, so my book is entirely a bunch of short stories that kind of interconnect. But I never write outlines. Whenever they would say, okay, write an outline for your essay in school, I would never ever do that because I hate it. I'm just going to write it. I'm not going to write an outline, forget that. I would write 3 sentences and I'd be done. And I would always, I did well, I'm not going to brag, but I did well with my essays without ever writing outlines. And so, the one time we had writer's group assignment. You're like supposed to figure out what's happening in your book and like what you're writing. I didn't really want to do it, but I'm like, okay, I'll just give it a shot because we're doing it in writer's group. And so I wrote it all out, and it actually helped me, decide what all I was going to put in my book. Because usually I just think of stories like, okay, that sounds like fun, I'll write that one down. And I don't really get much of anywhere because I'm just like, well, what's the next thing going to be? But now I have an entire page of ideas that I would like to go in the book. So sometimes writing an outline can be helpful even though it seems kind of boring.
We like to be free spirits, but you have to every now and then give it a nudge in the right direction.
Yeah, I'd rather writing free spirit. But actually writing it down did help because I got some funny ideas for that too. So that was kind of nice. So it was a way that I solved a problem where I'm kind of unmotivated sometimes because I'm like, well, what's next now that story's done? Now I actually have some ideas.
Okay, Elizabeth or Travis?
I go.
Good, I'm still thinking.
One problem I've sometimes found is it's usually never anything within the story itself. It's being motivated to write or something, or perhaps finding the task of what you have to write daunting enough that you keep pushing it back.
Yeah.
And in that case, I found one thing that works is kind of what Nadia does almost, is to write a short story and kind of get yourself back into that little groove and then get back to what you were working on or what you wanted to work on. And I've written a couple of Doctor Who short stories that I thought were really good. Because again, like Noelle says, you got to write for yourself. You have to write with what you want to see. Like, this is a great idea I have. Why does this not exist as a book? I will make this book.
Travis always has really good plots, too.
Yeah.
Bless you.
Thank you. I thought I'd insert myself in the conversation.
An impressive sneeze.
Yes, very much so.
Let's also say Travis is also a helpful problem solver. Like me, we both tend to like see something and then it's like
the dog wants to insert
one
himself
of
in
your
the conversation
most
too.
interesting things about like things in your book. One of the twists that really helped with the romantic plot line was we brought up a problem with your.
I was going to say that, actually. I was going to bring up, I didn't even realize that there was a problem within my story, and I was telling you guys about it, and you kept pushing me on a certain issue. Like, I don't want to go into too much detail, because I don't want the story, like,
don't spoil it.
spread
Tell me
across the
afterwards,
internet
'cause I can't
and
remember
everything,
what it was.
Basically, they kept bringing up this point, and I kept kind of fighting, like, no, it's pretty clear, I don't need to solidify it more, and you guys were all, like, asking me the mechanics of how this particular thing worked. And because you guys kept asking me that, it ended up becoming like the central thing of the story. It ended up being its theme, what everything ended up being about and leading back to. It kind of gave it life. So if you're ever having, it's not necessarily a problem, but if you feel like maybe there's something missing, or even if you don't, it's helpful to share it with people and have them kind of diagnose it and see if they have any problems in their head. I mean, you'll run into stuff where you already know where something's going, so maybe something's not clear to them yet, but you know. But in some cases, you'll wind up with what happened to me, where it just made my story infinitely better.
Colin is leaving us now. Goodbye, Colin.
Goodbye,
Colin.
and Travis, what you said was good. Sorry we were
laughing hysterically in the background because Noelle was trying to mime to me what the problem was, and I remembered it, but it was not through Noelle.
You know what? I will say that earlier today in church, someone was trying to mime something to me, and I was totally not getting it. So we already had the conversation about how I can't do charades at all.
Wow, that very loud noise you're hearing is Lucy, who is a very... Yeah, Noelle's the only one that loves her. So.
I like that she's fluffy.
She's not all bad dog.
Well, I like the fluffiness too, but...
weird. It's like she's happy with Colin, but when he leaves, she thinks it's wrong. I'm like, that's not your
The door is just the villain, I think, here.
Yeah, the door is eating people.
Okay, so Elizabeth.
I'm still trying to think. I think I'll go with a little bit like Noelle's. Just getting a kind of a combination of Noelle's and Travis's is just getting myself to write. Because as I mentioned, I've been working on a story I've been plotting it for over 10 years, and I never wrote anything down. Mostly because I was a preteen, and I was like, if I write this, it's gonna be bad, so I don't want to write it. So I just kept putting it off and putting it off.
I'm not a butterfly yet.
Basically. And so, eventually I started coming up with story ideas, and I always hated them, and so I never wanted to write them. And basically, much like the thing that Noelle said from, I believe, from No Plot, No Problem, is to just write. and it'll probably stink. But just write anyway, and then you have something written and you can go back and edit it, or maybe it will be good. Half the time I'm writing and I'm like, this is dribble, and then I go back and read it and I'm like, this is gold. I'm so good.
I've done that too.
Yeah, and also, it is helpful to have your friends, because I remember there was a character I was writing and I wasn't that interested in him, but for some reason Travis liked him, so I decided to spend more time on him, and I like him better now.
I can't even remember
It's
who that
like
was.
your friend, Lewis, your friend,
Okay, that's what I thought.
your friends may see things differently,
Oh, they
and
certainly
spur
do.
you on to
They certainly
do
do.
differently.
Yeah.
My friends like to take my characters and do things to them. I won't mention any names, but
I don't let
you know who
guys
you
do
are.
things to my characters.
Yeah.
Oh, we did things to your characters.
I know you did.
So I actually do need to go at some point.
Well, I believe that means we're wrapping up. Colin has left us, and the world's going to leave us. So we did a nice short podcast today.
I'll go home and find
Would we
out.
like to do any parting thoughts?
I don't know. I'm gonna go home and see if Mom does watch Once Upon a Time or not yet. So.
You can say here and watch Once Upon a Time.
Hey, I can do that too.
Hey, Colin left. We can sit here and watch Once Upon a Time.
That's true.
I know. I had a question to ponder for the next podcast. I would like you to decide. Whose phone was that?
That was
That's
mine.
yours. I would like you to decide who your favorite character you've ever written is, and tell us why.
Oh well, I already know.
Do I know? I think I know.
Hard one.
Actually, I think I do. It's weird for me. My favorite character of all time that I've made up is not written down.
That's fine. That works too.
But then
Remember, none of my novel is written
But then
down.
There's
she
a lot of
made
my
it cooler
characters
in my head.
A lot of my characters have world ruling powers because I secretly want to rule the
Save
universe.
it for next time, Nadia. Save it for next time. That's a preview for next. This is what you have to look forward to
Yeah,
I
we're
think
committed now.
in the next podcast.
No, you may not.
No, you may not choose other people's
It'll
characters.
destroy you.
Nadia's characters are great.
This should be fun.
Okay, but yeah, short podcast because we have a small group.
And
Okay.
because America has a small attention span.
Thank you.
Sometimes.
Thank you, Travis.
Thanks for insulting our viewers.
I'm not insulting our viewers.
I might have
They're
some
probably laughing with me and agreeing. Yes, I know
We're
people that are like
listeners
that.
Anyway.
listeners. Hey, I might have some people from out of the country who could
Can we
listen.
do a video podcast? That would be awesome.
Let's
at
also. I don't think Bethany would do that. So let's do that the next time Bethany's not around.
Yeah, I
And
haven't
not
done
tell
any-
her.
Yeah, I haven't done anything with my hair today. I'd rather not do that.
Not today.
Okay.
But not today.
Well, we will see you all next time then.
You.
Sign off.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.